Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Fond du Lac Area Women's Fund's Project Table Talk. I'm Maria Turner, the Executive Director of the Women's Fund, and I'm coming at you today as the facilitator of a conversation with Vicente Lezama Morales, who is the owner of Hair Lounge, as well as the founder of Fond du Lac's Pride Picnic. And June is Pride Month, and so we wanted to bring Vicente on today to discuss the picnic, as well as, talk about some of the things that folks in the LGBTQ plus community get to celebrate during the month of June. And so really excited to have you here today, Vicente, and let's just get started right away and tell me a little bit about the history of the picnic, including, things about those early days. I think we're on the fourth year of the picnic, and, kind of why you felt this was needed in Fond du Lac County.
Yeah, thank you for having me this morning. So Pride Picnic started in 2019, and it started basically because of a feeling bad. Usually I go to Pride in Milwaukee, and it's been a thing since I've been 18. And I get really excited. And that year I just leave downtown, right? Like I live downtown, I have business downtown, and I couldn't get myself to just get in my car and go, which is normally the thing that happens. Like every year I just want to go. Like it's time for me to leave and I'm ready. And usually I'm always late. So, that year I just couldn't go, and I couldn't understand why. And I'm somebody that thinks a lot. So there was a reason why I was staying. And so did Pride, had fun. And on the way back, I realized that the reason I stayed was because the people that were around me at that moment, and the spaces that I went to myself, like the salon and the coffee shop that I was in, they were the people that supported me. So therefore I didn't feel like I had to go to Milwaukee because I already felt supported in my town. But then me being myself again then got sad because I was like, oh shoot, like I feel that way, but that's about it probably. Like I've been able to have a blessing of have supportive people or find supportive people in my life. But other people in my community do not have that and do not have this feeling and do not feel this way. So therefore I kind of thought about like, what does Fond du Lac love? Because unfortunately, topics like this aren't always the most comfortable thing to talk about. And so I thought that like children and families are such a big impact in our community, but also how do we keep our family, like, that concept of love, right? That concept that like we love our family, we love our children. And unfortunately in the queer community, there's a lot of people that sadly they're disown them or they don't have parents, right? And so of the fact that Fond du Lac loves, families, I thought that having a Pride Picnic would be kind of that answer to involve families going to the picnic and involve families to show what love is, right? Because I think love can be differently in each family. But also at the end of the day, it's about loving each other and just taking care of each other. And I felt like we needed that. And I also felt like for Pride Picnic, it needed to be something that was more chill. Some of the other things that that other spaces have, they can be a little bit too much for someone who is just coming out or for like a family. I mean, we went to it this year, but we only went on a Friday because the rest of the days are not family friendly all the time. So that was a big thing that I wanted to keep, was like, as a community, we enjoy like the lake and we enjoy just downtime, we enjoy bands and stuff like that. That is our culture. So how do we enhance Fond du Lac culture with just having a more calm, loving space that you just gather? And each year we kind of, first year we had about 200 people. The following year was like 400, and we were still COVID conscious. The third year, we were like 800, like kind of COVID conscious, but still like a lot. And so this year, we hope that we just get a good amount of people. And if we don't, that's also okay, because then it means that maybe we're doing our job, and like our community is getting better at not needing things like that, right? But I do hope that it becomes a really awesome space.
Yeah, well, kudos to you for recognizing first it within yourself, like kind of having that reflective moment to say, why am I going to Milwaukee when I could be also doing something here in the community that has embraced me? And then also, I love that you have taken into consideration the vibe of the community in terms of it being very family oriented, in terms of it being a space that, as you referred to, needs more of a chill approach to topics that might otherwise be, like have people be standoffish. I mean, why this is one of those topics, I have no idea, but we know that it can be. So I like that you were able to take that approach. And these celebrations came out of more of a rebellion type of vibe, right? So first March was in New York in 1970 on June 28th to mark the 1-year anniversary of Stonewall uprising, right? So the gay liberation movement of that time. And so, I think whenever there's been a major civil rights movement, human rights movement, a lot of that has come out of rebellion, right? It's about people that have been oppressed deciding, we've had enough of this and we're going to stand up for what we believe in. And sometimes that can ostracize people, because they're like, I don't want to step into a space that may have risen out of violence, right? I mean, and the reality is our country rose out of, wanting to rebel against oppression of the king. So, I mean, that's just been the natural history of when we've taken back some of our powers. So, but I love how you approached it. And I know that that education piece is so critical. So tell me a little bit about how the community has come together over the course of the last 4 years. You mentioned that the numbers have been rising, so that, and as you pointed out, that can be both a good and maybe not so good thing in terms of, do this many people need this help? But I actually think that it's probably more of the result of more allies coming out to show support. So tell me a little bit about that piece.
Yeah, definitely the community involvement, started right away with even the first Pride, right? We had about 2 weeks to get it going. We had different people kind of being like, I have this, I have that. People, wanting to be like, we have canopies, we have all of this. And then getting to Pride that year, I remember just parents, starting to just make food, and I'm roaming around everywhere because I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I had to do something. And so, that was for me, again, I think a lot. So for me, that's when I realized, I was like, okay, like this is a fun thing to do. So like, how do we make other community members like want to help us? And especially, as you know, I worked with a lot of nonprofits and I love working for the community. So I wanted that. I knew that like the people that I have worked with, I know that the organizations that I've worked with in the past, like they're already doing these missions in a better Fond du Lac, in a better community, that I knew that they needed to be part of our space because I have felt safe in those spaces, right? And so I needed to provide that knowledge for people to know that that these organizations are safe. And sorry, I'm a little emotional about it because I do think that we do strive to be better, and we do strive every day to make a change. And I think it can be really hard. But I think for me, that's why I want to ask community members to come in and do information and do education. And I this year probably the biggest education wise kind of gathering that we'll have. We'll have many people, especially new people like the Fond du Lac Library is going to join us, and they're going to be doing story time with kids. ASTOP is going to be joining us this year. There's just other organizations that haven't been in there yet that provide their knowledge of what they're doing, but also they're saying, we want you here, we welcome you here, you are safe, and you will be safe with us if you join this organization or need this organization, right? And also last year, this was for me, this was amazing. We had a clinic there for COVID vaccines, right? And I actually have a client who, their personal thoughts on the vaccine is their personal thoughts. Also chose not to do the shots at that time. And because we brought the vaccine, she actually did the Johnson & Johnson shot at the park because I held her hand. For me, that was a wonderful moment because it just really impacts that sometimes gathering information and education is a way for us to progress and for us to feel like we're creating a better community, but also to just have fun and see what the queer community is as well, right? Like welcome some of these organizations to see like, hey, this is all the people, right? This is all the people in your community that are queer or allies or LGBTQ plus. Like this is the people that we're helping. And yeah, so I think that's what's been really exciting is there's been a lot of community effort and a lot of connections to make sure that we're providing at least something else than just for the day.
Well, in our Women's Fund, this will be our first year too, which we should have been in sooner, but I appreciate your nudge with that. You were kind of like, Maria, really? You have, been a part of our agency, and we have committed ourselves to being better with diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? And so it was an easy yes, really, for me this year to step into that space with you. But it should have been sooner, right? And so I'm glad that as each year goes on, more people realize that it is about coming together as various organizations and saying, we recognize this, we support this. It's about people, and don't ever apologize for getting emotional, Vicente. I mean, me, I almost started crying right along with you because it shows your passion and your heart. And that's the type of people that make things happen. And so I'm so proud of you and so happy that this has just grown and been embraced the way it has been. So let's talk a little bit about messaging and, being a member of the LGBTQ plus community here in Fond du Lac, and hearing what others have brought to you and things like that. What one thing do you think the community wants those of us who want to support you, and maybe even those people that don't get it, what do you want to say, and what do you want people to hear about this movement?
I think the picnic is built on love, right? And as I mentioned before, love can be represented in so many certain ways. And as a 27-year-old queer man, to me, I still don't understand why it has to be so difficult when there's already so many things out there that are so difficult within life, that accepting somebody else for loving, that's a part that I just don't understand all the time, right? Like, why can't we just allow people to love when it's not even there sometimes, or it's so hard to get, or it's a challenge sometimes, right? And so I guess for that is why do we still continue to not realize that is all? It's just love, and it's just a concept of wanting to be with somebody else, but also that, like, this is something that there's so many people in our community that are part of our community that are LGBTQ plus, and so why are we still, voicing them out? Why are we still kind of seeing like they're not there when they are everywhere? And, for us, even as a business, we always make sure we have a flag up front somewhere or outside, because we know that then means that even a child who was walking by and maybe they weren't confident or they were unsure about something, kids nowadays are so aware that now excited about seeing that flag because they know that somebody progressive or at least thinking of love is there. And so, it doesn't have to be a big thing either, right? When I sat down with the police department on how they could help us to promote this month was, you don't have to be huge about it. You can do one little thing, right? And even just providing a little rainbow flag is all it takes to just let our shoulders down and relax when we walk into a space or go into a space. So for me, I guess it's just, why are we not understanding love and accepting it? But also, if you're already an ally, help us be able to just show that love by showing that you are an ally and showing and standing up and saying, yeah, like, I do believe that you should be on this earth because I do love you, right? And so that's kind of where I would go and kind of mention. So
yeah, I mean, when you talk about love being the basis for it, and it really is, that is where I, as a parent, cannot understand the stories that I've heard from friends, and I've heard, you mentioned that sometimes parents, disown their kids, or they reject the idea that their child has wants to love someone. Really, I mean, that's what it comes down to. And I don't get that. I don't, because, I feel like the greatest love we have is within family. And so whatever we can do to remind people that that's what it is about, and not this idea of hating people that are different, So let's shift gears a little bit here. And what can folks look forward to at this year's event? I saw there's like a band lineup and food trucks and all kinds of really fun things. So give me the rundown of time frame, location, activities, all that good stuff. So I want to hear it all.
Yeah, so Pride Picnic number 4 will be this year, June 26th, and it'll be at Lakeside Park from 12 till 7. What we're looking forward to is definitely, highlight of every year has been music, so we'll have music in there. We actually this year will have a couple food trucks and food that can be purchased, which we've never had that, so we're legit now,
Love it.
We're also provide, as I mentioned, with story time, from the library, and we also will be having ASTOP will be doing 2 classes, and they're actually for one of them is for children and the other one is for teens. For the young ones, it's more about self-respect and where inappropriate touching can be and boundaries. And then for the teens, so if you have any teens, we're actually going to focus on relationships and what means to have sex, or what means to you know, how to go about a relationship, especially in the LGBTQ plus community. There's not a lot of information on that. And so that's another thing that we're providing. And some of these times will be, if you want to follow us on Fond du Lac Pride Picnic on Facebook, or even our Instagram, we will post a timeline of when the events will be, what time, and what section of the park. Because that's what we're going to work on today. And so that will be exciting. And then also, it's a park, so bring a lounge chair, bring a blanket, bring your own picnic basket, bring a book, like come and just chill out, because just feel the fun energy and the loving of love, you know. And so that's all we're providing for that day. I'm sure I'm missing out on a few things, but you know, it's just one of those events that it's just a very fun atmosphere. And then we also are, good thing I remember this, we also actually have partnered with Impact Theater, and they're doing a play at Top Shelf on June 24th, which is a Friday. I believe it starts at 6:45 or 7 o'clock. And all the proceeds that they get from that will actually go back to Pride Picnic. But also, Hedwig is a very LGBTQ plus play that is actually done by two people. And this one person plays all these characters, and just very, very fun, very 80s, very star kind of thing. So we encourage you to start Pride Off weekend with that. I know that for us adults, that will happen, and the Hive will have something going on Saturday. And other spaces hopefully will also, you know, will be encouraged to have fun as well. So yeah, so those are all the events that are happening, and I'm really excited that I hope you can make it. It's 12 till 7, so there's no really time for you to be there, honestly. If you want to be there in the morning, you can. If you want to be super late in the evening, that's also possible. I'm trying to work on a morning yoga because I need that that morning, but I think that would be fun, you know, some coffee and some yoga would be fun. Just kidding. So yeah, so just some excitement.
So yoga is fun for some folks. It's the only exercise class that I have not made it through because apparently I'm not Zen enough for that. I encourage everyone to dig deep into their Zen side if they're going to partake in the yoga. But well, so that sounds super fun. Everything that you were talking about, a little bit of something for everyone. Like you said, it's outside, there's nature at the park, you know, you can just lay on the grass if you want, or come to a booth and maybe color with the kids, or hear the story time that you mentioned. And then there's the education aspect of it, and of course food. Like you said, you've arrived now that you've got food going on there, Vicente, so that's awesome. So how many nonprofit booths will there be? Do you know approximately how many local nonprofits are participating?
Yeah, so we're finalizing all the details today. You know how many we have as of right now. When I checked on Wednesday, I believe it was up to 23, which is because we also have other organizations that are coming from within the area as well.
Yeah.
23 organizations will be there to just provide for us, you know.
That's awesome.
And, the best part is that the way that organizations are set up is also kind of like a more chill space. So you can really get to know the organization and why they're there and why they're supporting. So I think that really exciting last year was to see all these chatter kind of about the organization and what they provide and stuff like that. So yeah, so that's a huge amount of number of organizations that are helping us, right? You know, I think that's what I love about Fond du Lac, that sometimes when we have something, we do tend to get together and let's make it happen. And so I think that is seen in our as well this year. So
Awesome. Awesome. Hey, and so is this a rain or shine event? No matter what the weather is, it's going to go on, right? So
Yep.
bring your umbrellas if you need to. Let's hope not. Knock on wood, right? We want good weather for that. Yeah.
And it's actually, it has rained almost every year.
Oh, no. Well, then you're due for a good year, right?
The second year, midday, or last year was when it rained midday, but not like a big rain, just like a little bit.
Okay.
We're not, nothing new. But yeah, it will happen rain or shine just because it's a park and like we'll adjust a few things, but we can't cancel love, right? Like that's so disappointing.
And you also can't get a rainbow without rain, so it feels like maybe that's the symbol.
And we always get it. So I believe in a God. I think that's them sending me that message for me. So
right. I'm big on signs, so I think you're onto something there. So okay, can people still support the event in some way? And if so, how can they do that? Keeping in mind that we're coming out here with this telecast on the Thursday before the event. So can they still get in?
Oh yeah, you can still support us. You can actually support us through United Way because we partner with them. I will send Maria the actual number that you can actually text to donate. I should know that number, but I don't. But there's a number that you can text to donate, and it goes through United Way. They send you all of that, receipt or whatever you need. But you can still do that, or you can write a check to United Way with the memo Fond du Lac Pride. And we'll accept anything, even if it's $1, we'll accept it. So that helps us provide with next year. As a business owner, I realize that's, we need money, I guess. So, so things that we're still growing, but donations are always exciting. And also just donate your time or just something that you created. We have a lot of kids that do come. So if there's a craft or something that you want to do with kids, or an activity, let me know, because we are always welcome more people to play and entertain kids, because we just kids are just always doing something, so we need as many activities as possible. So yeah.
And as you alluded to, Vicente, it is so awesome to see how the generation is coming up in terms of acceptance of all kinds of things that generations prior were not necessarily open and receptive of. Sometimes I think, and I've had conversations with friends of mine and with my own girls who are 17 and 21. When I was their ages, no one in the LGBTQ plus community could feel safe and comfortable being out. It just was not a thing in the 80s. And that's shameful to say. So I love that there's been progress. I realize that we're not 100% there yet, but just in one generation's time to see the progress is, like, for me, hugely hopeful, because I never understood back then, and now I'm going to get a little bit emotional. I did not understand why people would tease people, why people would bully people, for, as you said, just being themselves and wanting to love other people. Like, it did not make sense to me. And then, if you grow up in a time like that, where society is not accepting, it's difficult to step outside of that. So I'm glad that people have been brave enough to step outside of those perspectives and move us forward a little bit. And again, I get it. I don't want to sit here and say everything's perfect now, because I know that that's not the reality. But I am hopeful because our kids are making progress in so many ways.
Absolutely. And also, like, educating them that only 50 years ago, I could get arrested from just touching another man, right? But educating also our youth, this is still a fight, and we're still, right? We have, as you said, we have to, because we have to let them have hope as well, right? But hopefully one day, we build a culture where we don't have to have a pride anymore, because we're just pride every day, right? Like because then for me, pride is also about saving lives as well, right? And so so in that aspect is, I hope that our kids learn that movement and that fight going, because we can be better humans every single day, and we're just a human race that continues to grow and learn more and accept new things, even if they're new or different, because that's human. One thing that somebody told me this, and I think it's very useful for they said, especially with pronouns, because even I had a pronouns at the beginning, when educated myself on them and so forth, and they said, we update our phone here, right? We get a new iPhone every year, or a new phone every year. So why don't we update our vocabulary every year, right? It was so simple, and I'm like, yeah, like that's something as like I think as humanity we can do to just move forward. So
yeah, that's a good perspective to have, because I think that that would be one area where people question, like, why do we have to do this, and it's like, well, you don't have to, but if you want to, you can, you know what I mean? And so, right. So that's a good point to make. So Vicente, is there anything else you wanted to cover, either around the picnic or around Pride Month in general? Anything else you wanted to just close this conversation out with?
Yeah, I mean, I think I just want to close it off with, give me a second. I think I just want to close it off with just hoping that y'all can make it to Pride, and also I hope that y'all can just enjoy an exciting day to just relax and to just enjoy the day. And also, as a Women's Fund, I'm thankful for your leadership, and you never knew this, but this is why I did Green Dot, is because the first conversation you ever had, you made me feel so comfortable and asked me so many comfortable questions. I wanted to be part of your organization, right? And so I hope that, your fight is being seen, it is being heard, but also let's work together to create a better community and a better world that we live in. So I think that's my last message for that is let's, pick it up and continue going, even though some days are really, really hard, but remember that we have a child that's seeing us, right? A person that is inspiring from that movement or from whatever battle we just had. So, yeah.
Well, thanks for that, Vicente. I have been personally and professionally inspired by you as an individual, as well as a young man who is a crusader, right? And I remember when we had, I think we had lunch or coffee early on, and yeah, and you probably don't realize this, but maybe I did push back a little bit. You kind of alluded to the idea that you felt that a lot of people at my age, the ripe age of 52, kind of lose that fire, right? Like we may, some of us may have been passionate when we were young about things, but life, tends to beat some folks down. And I don't know if you remember this, but I said, not this lady, right? Like I was like, nope, some of us are born to want to do work that is meaningful, whether that's through volunteerism or that someone like me who gets to do this every day as my profession. So I appreciate you for that crusader heart, and definitely with you in all that you're going to do from here on out, and so appreciative that
you've been a part of our organization through Green Dot as well. So with that, boy, I don't know what we're running on time here, but it's been an awesome conversation. I encourage everyone to come out to Fond du Lac's 4th annual Pride Picnic on Sunday, June 26th, noon to 7 o'clock in Lakeside Park. All kinds of activities. You heard it here. We've got the educational booths. We've got the community partners coming in doing various activities, whether that's for adults or children. We have ASTOP doing those educational components related to relationships and sexuality. And bands, I mean, how can you go wrong? There's so many awesome things happening. So please come out, support the Pride Picnic here in Fond du Lac. And thank you for tuning in once again. Vicente, thank you for coming and sharing this information with us. So appreciative. So ends this edition of Project Table Talk. We look forward to seeing you again in July, the second Thursday, where we'll be covering a topic again that sometimes doesn't get talked about except when you're sitting around a table. Thank you.